Okay, she's an award-winning poet from the very, very northern Wellington suburb of Palmerston North. She's also a full-time poet, which means she's broke. You can tip her if you like, it's fine. Someone cleverly described her poetry as artfully manic and conversational. Wow, that's me right now. And that's a pretty good summary. Okay, welcome to the stage, Paula Harris.
It's really hard going on after Kate, even after a 10-minute break. So I'm only going to take this shit down. But I will bring us back up again, don't worry. Oh yeah, I was like, trigger warning contains content about my really fucked up life. I was introduced to Michael Jackson's music when I was 9, when my Uncle Terry sat me down and told me, listen to this, and played She's Out of My Life. And as you'd expect, life changed. That was just the title. Sorry, I forgot to warn you, I like titles. When I was 14, my Uncle Terry kissed me. Terry is the youngest of my aunts and uncles, and for years I thought he was one of my cousins, since he's only 13 or 14 years older than me, and uncles are always so very old. When I was 14, my Uncle Terry kissed me. He gave me his prized picture disc of Thriller, and I loved it so much because Michael Jackson was cool, and my Uncle Terry was cool, and I adored him. When I was 14, my Uncle Terry kissed me. It was the hallway of a hotel after he'd taken me out to lunch and to see a bit of Auckland while I was up there for the weekend. He walked me back up to my room. We hugged goodbye because he and I always did, and then he kissed me. I was weird and gawky and hadn't had a boyfriend yet, and I didn't know what to do because I adored my Uncle Terry, and so when he kissed me again, I kissed him back. I felt so dirty and perverted and dirty 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 and dirty. We stopped kissing. I ran into my room. When I was 18 or 19, it became the family secret that my Uncle Terry went to prison for rape. Although everyone told my grandma that he was just caught up working somewhere far away for several years so that she couldn't have to face her youngest being a rapist. I'm pretty sure my grandma could have coped. When I found out he'd gone to prison, that he was a rapist, I felt dirty and perverted and dirty 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 and dirty. I've never told anyone this, and so when you hear it, you'll know that I am dirty and perverted and dirty 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 and dirty. When I was 14, my Uncle Terry kissed me. That people always ask me if like writing poetry is a really healing, therapeutic thing, and it really fucking isn't for me. Because if writing poetry like made me better or something, I would be so fucking evolved that the way that I'm glowing right now, because I'm a really fucking pale girl in a spotlight, this would just be me glowing with my evolution. But I will say that the cool thing about writing that poem, where I didn't actually know what the hell I was writing about, was my hospital psychologist and I, because I'm fucked up, we talk about poetry a lot, and he read that poem and he was like, oh, it must be kind of like hard that your uncle was a pedophile and he groomed you, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so the really awesome thing about that poem was the conversation that came from it that made me realise I'm not dirty and perverted and dirty and dirty and dirty. So now I'm going to change the mood slightly. It's not going to go straight up from here. This is a Wellington poem, and the apartment it talks about is just around the road in Courtney Place. So if we wanted to do a little tour afterwards, it takes like 90 seconds, and we could just, yeah, that'll be fun. I will bury people beneath the road outside your apartment. I want their cries, their pleading to ruin your sleep. Only you will hear them because I'll bribe the maintenance man to run a pipe from their coffins to your bedroom. And you will look out your window every day to see Azrael sitting on a bench, sipping an iced coffee, patiently waiting for them to die. If I stood on the footpath below your apartment, sobbing and inconsolable, if I cursed you in tongues, people would think that I'm crazy and lock me away, so I need others to cry for me. Every time that a road crew arrives on your street, with their stop-go sign and orange cones and digger, and they divert traffic and break through the bitumen and destroy all the road markings again, be assured that they're working for me, that they are there to dig a space for the next. I don't know how to describe this poem. Won me money. That's how I'm going to describe it. Objectifies men, won me money. Yeah. And the title, I didn't realise it when I got the title. I wrote the poem, I didn't have a title. I love me a good title. I was going through my notebook and I came across this line I'd just seen randomly somewhere. I was like, that's the title for the poem. And then I tried to figure out where it came from, so I googled it, because, you know. And it turned out it was a Sylvia Plath line. And that seems wildly appropriate for the poem, so sweet. It's called I Eat Men Like Air. 1. The first was a maroon dressing gown, micro plush. It whispered to me when I touched it that first time. This is just for the winter, I said, as I wrapped it around me that night. We both sighed. Winter became spring, and still I curled into it, and not just at night, but from the moment I got out of bed, the moment I came home. This was my first husband. One of his loops became unstitched, and I promised I'd sew it back in place that night, but I didn't. Instead, I let the tie hang from the remaining loop when it wasn't pulled around my waist. God, the nightly snuggles we had for all those years. 2. My second husband was a French pear scented candle. He knew how to do romance or flickering light and beautiful smells. When I walked into a room, seeing him there, I would immediately relax. He would nudge my book from my hands. Just lie back, baby, and be with me. I'd turn off the overhead light and then lie back and just be with him. But for all the romance, I could never be faithful. He had a sandalwood second cousin who would rub against my nose, and I am a weak woman, easily tempted into badness. How could I possibly resist? I would let his heaviness rest on me after, so satisfying in a way that my French pear husband never could be, even though I loved him, even though I wanted to stay faithful to him. But then there was this pomegranate candle. 3. You're married to your television, people spat at me. I smiled smugly and closed the door in their faces. He was demanding from the start. He wanted so much. Do this, and now this, and now do this, and have you done this yet? And I just couldn't be fussed with all of that. Somehow we got there. He spoke to me in different accents, in different languages, about all sorts of ideas. Sure, books can offer you ideas, but my television would whisper them to me, would shout them to me, would light up when I entered the room. It's so nice to have someone notice if you've been gone for 30 minutes or more. He would lullaby me to sleep. But some ideas grew boring. Sometimes I couldn't stand to hear him talk anymore. Sometimes I wished we'd never met. 4. My new husband is a chocolate cake. Well, less of a chocolate cake and more of a recipe for chocolate cake with all the ingredients easily at my disposal. He can be relaxed and naked, just him and plate and cake fork and me. Or he can dress up with chocolate ganache or strawberries or raspberry coulis or that bright sprig of mint worn like a pocket square for formal affairs. I can have him on the couch or in the car or at the dining table or at my computer or in bed. When I have used him up, I can make more because I always want more, and men were never able to keep up. I can lick the spoon, lick the bowl, press my finger against the crumbs and suck my finger, and when I take him in my mouth, my tongue slips around him, breaks him apart, easier to digest.